The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah! Go Cowboys! This is Cowboys StoryLine with Nick Eatman.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Cowboys StoryLine. I'm Nick Eatman here. Thursday, February the 29th. Leap year, leap day, I guess is what it's called. You don't see that many February 29th once every 4 years. You know, I was kind of thinking, what will the team look like the next time we have a February 29th show? I mean, you know, the last 4 years, I mean, it was kind of some of the same guys, but, you know, obviously things will look much different in 4 years, always does. So kind of interesting. I know. I wonder if any callers, their birthday is today. That would be cool. I'd like to know. Is it cool to have a birthday on February 29th? I don't know. Anyways, all right, we got a lot to talk about. As always, well, even if we don't, we figure it out. We'll talk about different things. You know, with the Cowboys last week, or 2 days ago when we did the show, Stephen Jones had just talked to the media, and Jerry Jones is supposed to talk on Friday. So tomorrow he'll be, giving his thoughts on what's about to happen in free agency, and who knows if he gives away certain things that plans that the team might be having. And usually they don't, but still always good to hear from Jerry. So that will be tomorrow, and then a lot going on at the combine. Cowboys meeting with certain players and different guys out there. So. We know what they need in some positions, but still free agency will kind of, determine some of that. With the Cowboys, they usually just kind of put Band-Aids on positions in free agency, but who knows? We'll see what all in really means. Maybe that means they're going to go out and be a little bit more aggressive. And if they are more aggressive at certain positions, maybe you get a player that will come in and solidify that spot immediately. We just haven't seen that happen for a while. Gilmore kind of did at cornerback, but not really, not like the number one player at that position. Brandon Cooks helped as well, and that was sort of, those are trades in free agency. Maybe the Cowboys have something like that they're working on as well. All right, 888-855-2297 is the number to call. Get that text line up there as well. I haven't memorized that one, but we'll get text messages as well. We'll start off with the calls. Travis in San Antonio.
Hey, buddy, what's going on?
Hey, how are you?
Good. How's your week been? How's your dad doing?
Good. Doing great. What's going on with you?
Just wanted to give you a call, getting ready to watch the Combine. I know they had some formal visits, so some Michigan players, which I know everybody loves, but I'm the Michigan guy, so I don't mind it. But I'm looking forward to kind of watching some of the guys, the tests that they did the interviews with. But I wanted to get your thoughts on this, and it's not a Dak thing. It's this. I know we just had the cap go up, but the quarterback money. Like, I don't know if it's ever going to get to a point with I just wonder with like the running back situation where that running backs, it got to a point where they were like, well, we can't pay a running back X, Y, and Z because this is just not worth it. And like, yet we pay quarterback. We're going to pay a quarterback at some point. They're going to start paying them $60-70 million a year, and I don't think any of them are worth it. Even other than Patrick Mahomes, and even when he signed his last deal, it was like that $45 million deal, but it was 10 years. So he gave them a lot of flexibility to keep doing stuff. I know he just got an extension, but so I just wonder, like, if you ever thought, like, are we ever going to get to a point where the league may go, can we just uncap and just not count the quarterback position to the cap? Like, is that ever going to be a possibility? Because I feel like at a certain point, even though the cap keeps going up, it might get to a point where quarterbacks are starting to hinder like the ability to like make teams good, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't agree, but I do know what you're saying. I just don't agree with that. I mean, I think that's part of it. That's why you have people to kind of figure this out. It also puts a lot of pressure on the actual quarterback. I mean, it kind of makes the position sort of what it is. I don't know what that would look like if you didn't have a cap for a quarterback. But
I just wonder if that's even it's just an outside the box. I don't think it's ever going to happen.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of conversations. I just thought, like, because it escalates so much, right? It's like if there was one position that owners could go, you know what, they're going to get paid. Like, pay your quarterback as much as you want. We don't care. Like, if you're going to commit to the guy, pay him as much as you want, and then you can deal with here's the rest of the cap for the rest of the team. I don't know if that would just make things easier. But there's just a thought.
Yeah.
So
interesting. I mean, what would happen with San Francisco? What would happen when you have a guy, like Brock Purdy that comes in?
Maybe if you draft a guy like that, then that's like your bonus, right? Until you have to pay him, because that's just, if you don't have to pay him a bunch of money, then you get to spend that elsewhere. So they would still get that advantage, right? If you draft a guy, but when you decide to pay him, it's like pay him whatever you want, but it doesn't affect the team, because I already heard Stephen Jones say the thing that I hate he says the most, where he says, like, the cap is real for us, which I know it literally is, but it starts to make me question already the whole we're all in.
Yeah.
So,
all right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's a big question too, and we know. Thanks for the call, Travis. We know that they're not going to be all in the way that some people think they're going to be. I mean, that's or hoping that they will be. It's not going to be. It's not going to be that way. It's not going to be. They're not going to be as aggressive as you would think. I think they'll do more, and I think they have. If you go back and look the last couple of years, they have done a little bit more and more. I think with McCarthy, they have gotten more players, more veteran guys. The well-known players. Maybe at the end of their career, some of them helped, some of them really didn't so much. But they are trying to add players. To this team, and they have, like, even during the season. Look at it 2 years ago. Look at it last year. They'll add some guys in there, but that's not really an all-in approach. But we'll see. We'll see what happens in free agency. I mean, they have to be more aggressive. They have to do that, and I just think that's another way too. It's like what you've done for so many years hasn't really worked. It hasn't been the ultimate payoff. So you're not changing the people making the decisions, so why don't you change a little bit of the philosophy on how they build the team? A little bit. It's still through the draft, but that doesn't mean every now and again, every few years, you can't say, all right, we have specific needs in free agency. Let's go that route. So we'll see. All right, let's go to Ray in Fort Worth as our next call.
How you doing?
How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. So, thanks for having this show for fans to call in.
Sure, man. I haven't heard from you in a while. I've heard from you way, way back in the day, but I haven't heard in a while. Maybe you call some other shows.
Yeah, no, they don't have much to call in, but I've been listening.
All right.
So, I'm going to try to be fast. So, a couple of weeks I heard a caller basically telling Micah to stay off social media, basically saying play football and shut up. So, here's the deal. We always want these players to be open and honest, and take a leadership role. But when they do, you have a problem. I have zero problems with what Micah Parsons said about Tank Lawrence. You know why? Because Tank Lawrence likes to run his mouth when they do good. We kick them when they're down. We kick them again, and we kick them again. And then he comes out and makes an excuse like, we're tired. I'm sure Green Bay was tired when they kicked your tail. I'm tired. I'm sure fans are tired of spending big money for tickets and come out and you put a product like that out. Now, I have zero problems with him. Second part, I think we're eliminating Micah Parsons by just playing him at defensive end. I think he's capable of so much more. I think we can, maybe you give him the dot. Let's see what's going on. I'd like to see him out there because I think we're limiting him. That he can actually cover players. We're just limiting his speed. We're just playing him at defensive end, and that's why teams start saying, just don't block him. Just don't block him. We're just limiting him. We want this. He's got so much more potential. When his rookie year, we did that. He played linebacker. I even went back and I saw him cover a receiver when he recognized who's coming out there. I just think we're limiting him just playing defense. And hopefully Zimmer lets him open up and take more advantage of it. I don't know what all in means, but at some point you got to do something because just regular season, okay. Well, that doesn't mean anything if you're going one and done in the playoffs. But
Yeah.
I love the team, and I'm still following, and thank you for having this show.
All right. Thanks, Ray. Appreciate that. Couple things on Micah. You're right about there are a lot of people that they'll criticize you for not saying anything. Oh, he never talks. He doesn't say anything. Never, he's not a leader because he doesn't open up in the locker room or whatever. And then when they do, then that's subject to being criticized as well. But I think we all know that he's getting a little too much with some of the things that he said, especially if it's coming back to his own teammates. And so it doesn't matter if it's true or not. That's not the point. We know we don't do that in our lives. Oh, well, that's true. Well, that doesn't mean to say it, okay? That's something you have to teach little kids and that kind of stuff, especially when you're talking about teammates, because that becomes a different problem inside the locker room with chemistry and that kind of stuff. So I definitely think that Micah needs to be a little bit more careful with some of the things that he says. Now, when you're talking about limiting him at defensive end, linebacker, I don't know if he's not limiting himself. With what he wants to do and how where he wants to play and what kind of statistics that brings. Guys, I think Fred Warner is one of the best players in football. And he is a difference maker. He is a great player and always seems to kill the Cowboys. And he's doing it from that position. So I'm not saying that you can't be a great player from there. And maybe Micah could be that type of guy. I think he's made it very clear he likes to get pressures and likes to get sacks. But I'm anxious to see what Zimmer's going to be able to do with him. And it'll be aggressive without a doubt. But again, they're going to need to get some help on the other side. If he's not rushing the passer, then who is? Because they're losing well, I say losing. They got some free agents. Probably not going to keep them all on defensive end. So they're going to need people to rush the passer for sure. So I like your points. I do think, though, when it comes to, being vocal, he's got to kind of pick his spots a little bit more there, because it's definitely potentially rubbing people the wrong way. All right, in his own teammates. All right, lines are open right now, 888-855-2297. I hear that all the time. Like, I called 100 times in a row. I think you call one time in a row, and if that's a thing, and you should be able to get in. Like Mike from Boston, he's sending a text message here. Man, I wish Mike would call, because we still have that one state, Massachusetts, that we've never had a call from. But Mike from Boston, what do you see a post Jerry Jones Dallas Cowboys team looking like? Do they finally give Will McClay the general manager? Okay, I'm going to stop right there. I'm going to stop, because it's the same with the question that Travis had about what a salary cap that doesn't include the quarterbacks. I'm not even going there. That's not happening. That's not going to be the thing, and I don't want to go down that road and even say all that. So he does say Macho Man and Miss Elizabeth were his favorite wrestlers. So they were kind of a tandem there. I guess they were married. The Macho Man, he was the best for sure. But Jerry's the GM. Jerry's the GM of the team, and that's what it is this year. That's what we care about. We care about what the salary cap looks like this year, what free agency looks like, how this team gets better. That should be the focus. Getting too far beyond that really doesn't make a lot of sense for me. Let's go to another text question. This is Kevin from Virginia. He says, do you believe it's feasible for the Cowboys to bring in Derrick Henry or Saquon Barkley, that type of free agent, and Tony Pollard as the backup to them? Well, probably not, because that's a lot of money in that position. And I just don't see, because Pollard is included in that group. Now, like nationally. Now, he's maybe not one of the top, but he's in that group. Now, he was franchised last year as well, had 1,000 yards rushing. Wasn't a great season, but he's still productive, and he's going to be considered in that. He's in that next tier. So I just don't see the Cowboys getting a tier 1 and a tier 2 type running back when they probably can draft one and he immediately can get into that second level, maybe even the first, depending on who they get. So I don't really see that happening. I think if they strike out on getting one of the top backs, and then Pollard's still there and hasn't signed, yeah, I mean, I think it's a situation. I mean, Mike McCarthy has said it that he wants him back. And, I think Steven and Jerry will both say that. But Steven kind of made it sound like, yeah, we like him, but let's see what happens in the market. So, they have the ability to sign them now. But you getting this close to free agency, the players are going to see what they're worth. And I don't blame them for that. All right, let's go, Chris in New York.
Hey, Nick, how you doing?
Good. How you doing, man?
I'm good. Been listening to you for a little while now. First time actually getting a call in.
First time call. Here we go.
Nice.
All right.
Yeah, so wanted to, and I think it's kind of been, talked about so much about Micah talking in the offseason, and it potentially could rub some people in the locker room the wrong way. I think that's totally fair, and I think it's, it's possible feedback. But at the end of the day, I love Tank. Love him. He's been with the team a long time. But you would think for a guy been there 10 years, he would have had something better to say coming on national TV.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like...
Especially with the biggest Cowboys hater sitting there right next to... I say hater. I mean, he's a fake hater, but you know what I mean. Yeah, he plays the part.
Yeah. Absolutely. He's pushing the Cowboys stories the same way that a lot of the media does.
Right.
And they're capitalizing as well. So it's just like, you expect him to be a leader because he's been there 10 years, because he's a great player. But for him to come on TV and say that, it's like, man, I have to question how much of a leader he actually is. Obviously, I don't have purview into the locker room and how things are done. But, when Micah talks about wanting to change culture or that there needs to be a culture shift, I think that right there is a glaring example of a situation where a veteran guy goes on TV and says literally the worst thing that you could say, and basically everyone's got to respond to that now, you know.
Yeah, and I've been asked about it a couple times. I don't have a great answer. I just like I've said, his what he's put out there, his product on the field has been way better than that, and he's not been really an excuse guy or anything like that. So I just tend to believe that that's not really what he meant to say. It came out horribly wrong for what the type of player and person that he is. So if this was his first or second year, you'd wonder a little bit about him. He's played 10 years. He's given everything he has, and he's not really a me guy. He stops the run. He knows how to sacrifice his body to get in there and make these big plays. He understands the importance of that. So he's a great guy. And honestly, when I heard a few before he got his last extension that he was, and I don't know how true it is, but he was already out the door essentially. When Jerry calls him back in and they get that 3-year extension done, it's like, man, we want that guy on our team because he's a great player. But I'll say this and then I'll drop. People can have their opinions about Micah's podcast. I don't listen to it during the season, but the stuff after the season has actually been I thought it was really cool because, if people are getting sour about Jordan Love telling Micah Parsons to his face the same stuff that we all see, I think that we need to look at ourselves and know that we should be able to take that type of criticism. But I would love to see Tank get in front and talk with Micah, because I want to hear from the two people who are some of our best players what their plan is for next year. And that's a great way to kind of settle down the problems within the locker room. But we'll see how that goes if that ever happens. Let me ask you this, though, Chris, because you said we should look at ourselves if we have a problem with him saying what we already know, right? So that's kind of what you're saying is we already saw that, Jordan Love. We don't need you to say that, right? Because we saw that what they did and how they
with Jordan Love saying like, hey, we can run the ball on you guys.
Right.
And then I think, go ahead.
No, you're right. You're saying the same thing. Like what you're saying is we ultimately really didn't need him to say that. We kind of knew that, right?
Right, but it seemed like.
So why put him on the podcast?
Well, I think that that's him making content. I think that people within the front office should have done a better job of actually addressing, the middle of the field. Jordan Love says that, he's not taking a shot, but you guys had a DB playing a linebacker. Like, we all saw that. We saw that he was undersized. It was literally a talking point.
Yeah,
sometimes
all year.
It worked. All year.
Yeah.
Once Leighton Vander Esch went down, there should have been a real move. And, yeah, they tried to get Shaq Leonard, but you try and get somebody else. You put some more people in there. And I think for a fan watching outside, you hear them saying, we like our guys, we like our guys. It's like sometimes we can get better, and we may like the players that we have, and we may love them. But sometimes we can get better, and we should be doing things to get better and not just leaving them status quo.
All right. Thanks for the call, Chris. First time caller, Chris from New York. So appreciate that. Let's get on to the next caller. And I asked for it, and I got it. All right, here we go. Mike from Boston.
I'm going to start the conversation by saying you kind of poo-pooed my Will McClay being the GM. I don't I want Jerry gone.
Let's ask it differently then. I get it. Let's ask it a little different than that, because that's not the case. Like hypothetically and all that kind of stuff. I don't. Now we're getting into touchy subjects. Let's ask it.
No, we won't go down that road then.
Okay, let's ask it. First of all, hold on. Let's get it started here. First time caller, right?
Yes.
We know what that means.
Here we go.
There we go. You got your own drop. I love it. All right. And you text a lot. You text on the text line. So it's good to have you. I can't believe that this has been our first call from Massachusetts. It's not like this is a small state. So
let me tell you, I'm a Yankee fan too, growing up in Boston.
What?
But I love Dallas more than the Yankees. You and I have so much in common that even Chris Beam, I love you guys. You and Chris ever went out and drank Miller Lite, Dallas Cowboy, beverage?
It would be fun, and I'll tell you why. Because I'm sure you can throw some hands. Because if you're a Yankees fan in Boston and a Cowboys fan, you've probably had an altercation or six in your life, maybe nightly. And, and of course, with Beam, Beam can, he can fight.
I got to have the owner of the nightclub let me out the back door because I got in a fight over Derek Jeter, someone calling him a derogatory name. I won't say it on the air.
Thank you.
And I was just there minding my own business, and I had a Yankee hat on after the game. But anyway, so...
Well, you can't talk about Jeter that way. Who's the Cowboy player that would get you in a fist fight if they said something?
Michael Irvin. I heard all the time about his problems. I always got it in high school. I'm the same age as you, so I was in high school during the glory days.
That's great.
And,
that's cool.
I met Michael Irvin in Fort Lauderdale. I used to live in Fort Lauderdale. That's why
what time of night?
Number. What?
What time of night was you?
Late. It was at a nightclub. He let me try a Super Bowl ring on, though.
Cool.
I have a picture of it. Yeah, it's on one of my pages.
That's cool.
But anyway, what's your favorite rock band? You must have an 80s band that nobody else really likes still, but you still, because you're loyal, I can tell.
80s rock band. It's funny. I don't know. I don't know about 80s rock band, but I have heard Living on a Prayer 2 days in a row now. I wonder what's going on there. But 2 different days, like the last 2 times I got in my car, Living on a Prayer was on. It's not like I'm jamming to 80s music either. So I don't know. I'm a little bit of everything.
I've seen Kiss 22 times.
You and I aren't exactly the same. Then I'm going to tell you that because that's 23 more times than I would want to see them.
I had an older brother who kind of pushed me into it.
All right.
But
what's going on with this team, Mike? What's going on?
So,
ask that question differently about Will McClay. What do you think about Will? Do you like that? You think he's somebody that should take over a little bit more?
I just feel like he's the silent partner in the nightclub that never gets to tell people he owns the club. It's always the loud, and I love Jerry Jones. I can't get enough of him. I live in Boston. I do taxes for a living. It's tax season right now. I am slammed. I listen to all your podcasts. I can't get enough. I listen to his interviews on 105.3. I mean, my family thinks I'm insane.
I can't get my text guy to call me back. I wonder if he's listening to some like Patriots podcast or something like that.
No. My parents have season tickets to the Patriots when the Cowboys have been coming kind of a lot lately. And I went to see Dallas and, the Patriots in Dallas a couple times in the last 5 years. So it's nice we finally beat the Patriots.
Yeah.
Definitely. But I have a couple more things. I'll let you go. So the team, we just need some tougher guys. We need 11 Jake Fergusons on offense because he's a bad you-know-what.
Yeah.
Like, he's a tough kid from Wisconsin. You know what I mean? Like, he knows how to play football. Dak is overpaid, but you have to overpay the quarterback. What are you going to do?
Right.
I'm curious. Do you hear anything about Trey Lance? You can answer that when we hang up. I mean, is he getting any better? Because we did give up a pretty good pick for him.
Right.
I mean, people say fourth-round pick. We found some dandies in the fourth round. Second round, not so much. But
well, I mean, don't forget about your all-pro cornerback that had 11 picks. I mean,
I forget he's the second round.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes we kind of lump those guys in together. Those guys that with the risk involved and all that, and injured or what Jalen Smith type and all that. But I mean, no, Trayvon Diggs was a second-round pick as well. He's the exception to the rule.
He fizzled. He had that one game in New Orleans. Him and Van Der Esch were drilling people. Do you remember that game? It was in the Superdome.
Sure. Yeah.
So I'm going to listen. All right. Favorite wrestler, Macho Man, and Miss Elizabeth. She was so beautiful, wasn't she? What a lovely lady. And not obscure cowboy, but my brother and I used to always laugh. Brock Marion used to always make it seem like he just missed the tackle. He would always get up and punch his arm. And my brother and I, we have that weird sense of humor. My brother's like, is it me or does he always act like he just missed the tackle? And I'm like, no one else ever noticed things like that. But he would always get up and just look like he was frustrated. He was a good player, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But one more fact, I never missed any Cowboy games. And this is before the internet. I used to go to any sports bar I could find to see them on the satellite. I mean, I wasn't even of age. And I'd be at bars trying to find the Cowboys against, name some, what team.
Yeah.
And so you and I are a lot I know you don't like Kiss.
Yeah.
But you're loyal. You love your Arkansas Razorbacks.
Oh, yeah.
I love my Miami Hurricanes, the college football team.
Yeah.
You can kind of see the trend with me. The glamorous teams. The Yankees, the Hurricanes.
Right. Yeah. Well, and you're also seems like you like to piss off the fan base there because I bet you the BC Eagles don't really like Miami. What Boston and the Yankees do, and then no one likes the Cowboys unless you're a Cowboy fan. So there you go. Yeah, we can go hang out at the bar. You just don't get us in that many fights.
If I ever come there, I'm going to find you. If I ever come back, I thought about moving there.
All right. Well, there's people do that every day, but I'm good. If there was any sporting venue that I would just get to one game, anything the Masters or any stadium. It's Fenway Park. I have to go to Fenway Park, and I have to sit in the third base side. I need to be, the wall needs to be right over here by me. So I'm going to do that at some point. I'm going to go there.
I took batting practice there.
Oh, wow.
If you donated money, they let you get 2 swings.
Okay.
And I played college baseball. I brought an aluminum bat, and I hit it off the wall.
Nice.
Second pitch.
Claim to fame.
Not over, though. But I was in my late 20s. I hadn't played in a while.
All right, Mike.
Nick, I love you. I love Christine. Go Cowboys.
There you go. Thanks.
Bye.
And with that, we're complete. 50 states. Took a little bit for that 50th one, and I wouldn't have ever guessed that Massachusetts was the one. But that's pretty awesome. We got 50 states. We found out the other day that we're sitting at 999 calls. 999 calls, and then the next show, and I actually forgot to bring it up, but the next show, it was a week ago. The show started off with Joe in Stanford, who he hasn't called yet, but he was the 1,000th call. Can't say that quickly. 1,000 calls, and it was him. So now we're sitting a little bit more than that, but now it took us to get 1,000 to get Mike from Boston. Love it. Great. Call again. A lot of good stuff there. All right. Alan in Idaho.
Nick.
Before Massachusetts. But is this first time call?
No, this is the second time. It was a little while back.
Okay. I know we had some calls from Idaho, but I didn't know which one. But I guarantee we didn't give you the here we go, so we'll give it to you. If Chris is paying attention, he might be on the phone. That's fine. Alan, what's up, man?
I'm on the phone.
I'll take it at the end. It's all good.
We'll take it.
Hey, so I'm a huge fan of Dak. I understand he's got his limitations. Playoff game, I don't know. There's one person that actually looked good during that whole thing. So I think they do get that contract redone and all that stuff. I think he's good to go. I think, being almost an MVP, just give him a run game and let's see what he actually does in the second year under McCarthy. So I like all that. My big question is what are we going to do with that backup now? Because we've got two guys, if I understand correctly, are pretty much on one-year deals each.
Yeah. The backup to which position? Not running back.
The backup QB, yeah.
Oh, backup QB. I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about running back. Oh,
no, sorry.
No, and that answers the last caller kind of talked about Trey Lance as well. I think that his progression would be to be the backup this year, and that you could save some money if you released Cooper Rush, but he's got to be ready. He's got to be ready to do that. That if you draft the guy or you trade a 4th-round pick for him, last year he just kind of sat and learned the offense. He should be ready to be the backup at least. So I think that should be the direction that I would want to go is look at the offseason, see what happens, and Cooper Rush could be a June 1 release, honestly. But I think you got to start getting Trey Lance at least ready to be the backup.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess that would be my question is you gave up a 4th for him. If he balls out, there's no way you're re-signing him. I can't imagine because someone, free agency, you've already got your starting quarterback.
Well, wait, when does he ball out?
Well, it's going to have to be preseason for sure.
Well, then he's your backup, and I think he'd be your backup quarterback, and then what happens with Dak? They have options. That would be the worst thing in the world to have. But and if Cooper Rush is still here, maybe it's something. Maybe you can trade him. You trade him and get a pick back or something like that. So, you want them to play well, and that just gives you more options. Yeah,
I guess I was just the way the season started last year with Dak. It's like, all right, I could see them kind of looking at this, spending a 4th round. That's a good deal, but if you do end up giving Dak that contract and you wasted kind of a 4th round on the guy, especially when you kind of hear with this draft, everyone's talking about that middle rounds. They're awesome, and so you kind of almost want that. But so I guess I was just kind of curious what your thoughts were on that and just kind of how they navigate that, and did we waste the pick or draft pick or whatever?
Yeah, no, I think that they're just giving yourself more options. Thanks for the call, Alan. Appreciate that. You got to remember too, there we go. He gets this. Here we go. Yeah, we'll make exceptions. I know we weren't doing that when he called the first time around. So, we don't get too many calls from Idaho. We need to. That's another place that I wouldn't mind going. We almost did a documentary about Boise State just because there was a time there when there was about five players and a coach. Kellen Moore was there. We had, it was like, what's going on in Boise? Let's go check this place out. But it didn't materialize. But still, it's kind of a fascinating place for me. I'd like to go see it sometime. But you got to remember, too, about that trade with Trey Lance. Dak didn't have the season. That was in preseason. He was coming off a season where, he led the league in interceptions and missed a few games. So it wasn't his best year at all. Now he did have a nice game in the playoffs against Tampa, and but still, you're trying to just if you have a chance to get a player like Trey Lance and trade a 4th-round pick for him, they probably scouted him very highly. So, this was just a kind of a free look. I say free, it's a 4th-round pick, but to get a player like that to at least try to develop him, and they're not in any hurry with him. So I think that's kind of what the mindset was. Then Dak goes out and has an outstanding year, and was second in the MVP voting. So that I just think you got to remember, they made that trade to kind of cover themselves, and now we'll see. But if he can move himself into the backup role, then I think that shows pretty good progress for where he is in his career, in his development. All right, Derek in Seattle. Next call. Hey, Derek.
Hey there. Hey, just wanted to get your insight on two things real quick. I'm hearing that there's no maybe linebackers that are worthy to be taken in the first round, but I feel like we got to get a stud linebacker over an interior defensive lineman. So I want your thoughts on that. Which would you pick in the first round? And then second, now I don't watch all the tape, but I watch every Cowboy game. Dallas's run game, we both agree they got to improve it, but man, it seems so vanilla to me. It seems like they run three types of runs. And I watch all these other teams, and they're running beautiful trap plays and pulling guards, and it's just so creative. And I don't know if that's McCarthy or what, but maybe it's not true. But to me, good grief, their runs look exactly the same every time. So get your insight on that.
Well, I don't know if I agree with that. Thanks for the call. I mean, I think it's very normal to kind of think, because you watch them so much, you kind of think, oh, they all look the same. I've never thought that. Honestly, I've never thought that the runs look the same. I mean, I see some creativity in there. I see, definitely see some receivers running the ball and on jet sweeps and reverses and things like that. I see the pitches. I see the traps. I see the dives right up the middle. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I see that. I just don't think they block as well as they should. And I don't think Tony Pollard is the best at dragging the ball, the pile for 3 or 4 yards. I mean, why would he be? That's just not the type of runner he is. And I think the team can be better at the scheme. I think the blocking schemes can get better. Do they need to get a running back to improve it? Do they need to get better schemes? Do they need to get better blockers up front? I'd say yes to all of that. So, and then to answer your first question, linebacker, defensive tackle in the first round. I mean, at 24, if you pick at 24, if somebody desperately wants this pick, and you're sitting there and you got 5-6 guys that you kind of like, hey, I'd trade back. I'd pick up a third or second or four, for whatever, because you don't have, until before the comp picks have been, come out yet, you don't have a 4th, 5th, or 6th right now. So I could see them trading back, unless they are sitting in the war room and going, can you believe this guy hasn't been picked? We had him as our 5th best player, and he's still there. What's wrong? Did he do something? Is he in trouble? What happened? Is he hurt? I mean, I'm sure that was the kind of stuff happening when CeeDee Lamb was falling. They weren't going to take CeeDee Lamb at 17. There's no way. He's not going to get past 10. But he did, and he still does. And then you call and make sure that, everything's good, and you change your draft board. So at 24, that could happen. So just leave all those options open. And maybe it's not a linebacker. Maybe it's not defensive tackle. Maybe it's a position we're not even talking about, but it's just their best player. But you do that if you take care of business in free agency and make sure that you get, quality players that can kind of fill these positions. All right, let's go to Joe in Stamford. Joe.
Hey, 1,000th caller. I'd say that's probably pretty poetic. What do you think?
I mean, if anybody was going to do it, it would be you, because you've called. I think you're in the top 3 of all-time calls, especially early on. You were calling a lot. You were the one kind of carrying this thing. I thought you were number 1. I had to go back and review the tape. I thought you would be number 1, but you weren't. And ironically, the person that did call first has never called again. So, yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I had that gap there of about 3 or 4 weeks where the Cowboys were sort of struggling, and I was sort of struggling to get up out of bed to call at 10 a.m. But I sure have enjoyed it, Nick. I've enjoyed this show a great deal.
I appreciate that.
It really has given me something to look forward to. Honestly, I wasn't going to call today, and then you said that that I was the 1,000th caller, and I was like, well, that's badass. I got to call.
I called you out, so that means you had to call. I love it. Yeah. Well, we appreciate you.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate you too, brother. I think what you're doing is great. So we're talking about free agency and what we can fill and what we should draft for. I'm looking right now at the running backs available in free agency, and I think with the expansion of the salary cap, I think, like you were saying the other day, I think it's a no-brainer that we pick up one of these good backs. Any of the top 3 or 4 would be great. I don't know about Pollard, frankly. It depends on how much we pay him, but
right.
Definitely Barkley, Henry, Jacobs, all really good choices in my opinion. I sort of lean towards Henry, but I think that we might have to pay him or Barkley the most.
Yeah.
I think we could do that. The running backs, even at their top of what they're going to get paid, is not a salary cap killer, especially if we're trying to actually get markedly better for this year. So I think it's a no-brainer. I think we're definitely going to do that. It definitely fills a hole. As far as the draft, we always do better when we pick the best player available. Last year, we reached for holes in the roster, and we saw what happened. Now, remains to be seen about those 2 young men. They may end up being great. I don't really think so, but they could be serviceable. We'll see. But we always do better when, no matter what, we make it happen with the best player available. So I hope that's what we do.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for the call, Joe. I mean, let me say this about that, though. I think I just said it a few minutes ago. Best player available works when you're in a position to do that. When you're in position to take the best player available, then you can do that. But if you don't, if you have some holes, and it's easier to say that too when you're looking at the entire thing, okay, and you're like, the best player available is a linebacker, let's say. But there's 7 linebackers we like that are in the first, second or third round. But the linebacker's a little better than this tackle. But after this, it gets very, very bare. So do we take the tackle now and go in the second round and get a linebacker? Because there's 7 that we like. So that's where, when you look at it with the entire board and who they have, these guys, and where they have them rated, it's a little bit more difficult to say, just stick to your board all the time. I mean, I remember that happened in 20 years ago. Parcells' first draft. He takes Terrence Newman in the first round. In the second round, he wanted a tight end. But there was 5 tight ends that he liked. And there were some really good ones. There was only one center that he could take, and that was Al Johnson. So Al Johnson wasn't really the highest rated player, but he didn't feel like there was any other centers. He had to go get that. And then one of these guys he liked would still be there at tight end in the third round. And there was a guy named Jason Witten. So they ended up taking him in the third round. Now, Jason Witten was getting pissed off in Elizabethtonville, Tennessee, whatever it is, ripping off the door off the hinges because he was pissed off. Okay, I'm sorry about the door. But it all worked out, right? It all worked out. 17-year career, going to be in the Hall of Fame, Ring of Honor, all that stuff. All right, and Joe, the 1,000th caller, we really appreciate you. You kind of helped get this thing going off the ground. There was a show where we didn't have any calls, and Chris was really mad about that, but I told him to calm down. We'll be fine. They'll come. That's exactly how it happened, I believe. And that's
that is not how it happened.
It's not how it happened. It was something like that. It was something like that.
I wish I knew what show it was. So everybody can go back and look.
I was charting. I was charting the shows. And I did this, and I was like, this show. I was like, all right, this is easy to chart. Move to the next page because nobody called that day. But that's when I got on Twitter, and I was like, hey, I need you guys call the next show 8, the next show 16, which is still the most that we've had in a 1-hour show.
A producer question there for you too.
Yeah. All right. So a producer question. The lines are open. Lines are open. All right. And we're about to be done here, but we can still take another call or two. 888-855-2297. If you're calling from a state or country that we've never had, definitely the countries. We had all the states now. Thank you to Mike in Boston, Massachusetts, filled that up for us. All right. a producer question. Maybe this is Chris being curious, or maybe he doesn't have any text lines questions either, and we're just kind of trying to get through.
I think fans want your thoughts on this.
Can I get your thoughts on the trade deadline proposal? Pushing it back, I think it was Cleveland that is proposing that the trade deadline is just too early in the season, especially compared to the other leagues. The other leagues, NBA, NHL, Major League Baseball, they're sitting at around 55, 60, even 78% of the season that has gone on when the trade deadline. So, and the Cowboys, the NFL is about 45%. So it's about that's about week 6, 7 probably, 7 or 8. And so as the year, we've gone to 18 weeks season now, 17 games with a bye. So, and they really haven't adjusted that. So that's kind of what one team is proposing, and I think it's getting some traction here. But what I wonder is, from the fans' perspective, yes, everyone would like that. So fans are liking that. What I wonder is, from a marketing perspective, the NFL, does the NFL like that? Because think about it like this. Early on in the season, still week 6, week 7, everybody still has kind of a chance. You're still in this. You can turn things around. We've seen it happen. You can turn this around and really get to where you want to go, especially with 7 playoff spots now. But you get later on, and you're like, okay, this isn't happening. Well, let's trade this guy. Let's trade him because he's going to be a free agent next year. Let's get something for him, and let's trade him. And let's trade this guy, too, and get another pick. And we already got this guy injury. This injury is really hurting us, and we're 3-6 or 3-10. I don't know, whatever it would be. But you're kind of out of it. So
it actually happened this year, I believe.
Well, what do the fans do? What happens then? Because you're telling everybody, it happens in baseball. So when you say, are you going to be a contender? Or are you going to trade? Well, you start trading. What does the outfield stands look like when you start doing that? So that's what I think is the one move the NFL's worried about is, do we do this too late? And then the last month of the season, when the teams are saying, well, we're kind of throwing in the red flag or the white flag here, well, then maybe the fans do as well, And so that's that, in ratings and all that kind of stuff too. It all affects it. But I like it. I don't think it's too bad. I wouldn't go too late into the season. I think you could move it a week or two back. I don't think it would hurt anything. So, what you think, Chris? It's his question. No, maybe he's on the line.
Sorry, I was on the phone.
He's on the phone. We got another caller. This is going to be our last caller. Who we got?
Dayton in Maryland. That's
Dayton in Maryland. What's up, man?
What's up, Nick, man? Big fan of yours, man.
Appreciate it. What you up to?
First time caller?
I actually woke. No. I called before, but I didn't. Y'all wasn't doing the here we go thing at the time.
Well,
when I called.
Here we go. You got one. We're passing them out like candy today.
Okay. And basically, I just woke up and I hurry up and click the out because I've been meaning to call in general, but every time I call in, usually the show is already over or something like that. So I was like, dang. But so I got it's like a fantasy type of question. But do you think that this will stop the improve the defense in a way where nobody can run on us if we able to get these players? Is it possible I can name them or no?
Yeah, go for it.
Concept.
You say whoever you want.
All right. So say, so for instance, we got how we already got DeMarcus Lawrence, we got Micah and stuff like that. Okay, cool. What if we get someone like Jadeveon, Clowney, and on the edge, and then for D tackle, you either re-sign Hankins and get someone else like a I think his name Alshon Robinson or something like that.
You got me on some of those. Where do you think this team needs the help though?
But I think they need help. In my mind, I wanted to also get your opinion on this because I've been meaning it because now it just not popped up to my head. So I think they need the help in the interior. I think Micah, if he get bigger, you know what I'm saying, so he can be able to be more physical in the run.
Mm-hmm.
I think also if they get 2 linebackers and, in my opinion, as far as Stephon Gilmore, I don't know how you feel about this, but this is what I wanted to ask. Do you feel like, because, he kind of old and not saying that he but, it's close to that time where, the speed of, him keeping up with these young receivers or stuff like that might be getting up to him. So I was thinking, do you feel like he could play safety, like free safety, like a Malik Hooker? How Malik Hooker is playing. If he wasn't on that type of, if Malik Hooker was, say this is his, contract year, this is his contract year, but I'm saying, say if his contract is expiring, would you think about like putting Stephon at free safety and think he can do it? And then I would get someone like how the other caller before was like a Xavier Howard or something like that. Right. I think we in business.
Yeah.
And then as far as offense, I just think we need a running back and obviously do something with the O-line. And I think Brandon Cooks is cool, but I still think we should get someone else,
All right.
Just to take the pressure off CD. So
all right.
That's the only thing I got.
Okay, Dayton. Appreciate that. Thanks for the call. A lot of different stuff to get. I mean, a lot of things people want out of free agency. And, I don't know if they're going to fix everything that they need or address them all. I don't typically think corners, just because you're a little bit older or lost a step at corner does not mean you can be a safety. I think that a lot of fans kind of think that. Now, in this case, Stephon Gilmore, I'm not saying that Daytona is saying that. I'm saying in this particular case, Gilmore probably can do that. You have to understand the game. You have to be able to understand coverages. It's not just covering your guy. It's more than that. You understand the whole defense and your awareness has to be up there, which I think he could do that. You also have to be willing to hit. There's been some corners that have moved to safety a little bit older in their career. I still think he's a corner, though. I still think he's a cornerback. They'll probably try to get him cheaper since he's injured, talking about Stephon Gilmore. But, as for all those other positions, we'll see what they do. There's going to be some surprises. Hopefully they're good surprises. Last year there were some good ones. We'll see what they do there. And if running back is one of them, I think that, they have an opportunity to get a running back that is a good player or has been a good player and, put him on this team and maybe create a little excitement from that regard. So that's kind of what we're hoping. We still got a couple more shows before then, and it'll be fun to kind of talk about it, though. We'll talk about it next Tuesday, and we may have a little bit of a schedule change at the end of next week, but we will definitely announce that as well. And at some point, I'm getting together the all StoryLine team as this first year kind of wraps up and it always kind of ends at the end of right before free agency starts. It's kind of when the fiscal year is over. So maybe next week, maybe next Thursday, potentially Friday. I have to talk to Beam about that.
I better be on it.
Be a good time. You're the producer. Yes, you're going to be on. There's going to be positions, okay? And I don't know about that. I'm just kind of on the fly. But if there's a producer position, it's going to be you, okay?
Yeah, so that.
Yeah, you'll be the guy.
One.
Huh?
One of one.
One of one. That's fine. So you'll be on it for sure. But we'll see. We'll see where I kind of draw the line there. I might have some honorary exceptions there as well. And I got to remember about the texters too. Just because you can't call doesn't mean you can't be on the team. I think there's a couple that maybe Mike from Boston, and especially if he can, if he's from Boston and he's gonna come kick my ass, so I might have to put him on there.
There's a guy in Philly that always texts.
Right.
Too.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not giving it away, except for Joe in Stanford. You're gonna be on the team. Okay, you're gonna be on the team. Rob in Vegas, you'll be on the team. Okay, so I don't know. What do you think, Chris? About 20?
That sounds good.
22. I mean, that's
22,
what a football.
offense, defense,
yeah, offense and defense with a producer.
Okay.
Yeah, might have a couple.
I'm more of a special teams player, I guess, when it comes to that.
All right. Yeah, but you're on the team. You're gonna help kind of organize it. So you've got a spot. All right. We're just kind of rambling here. It's almost a full hour. Only had 8 callers today, but that's okay. Because we got some first-time callers and first-time states. So really cool to do that. All right, we will be back on Tuesday of next week, and we'll get that much closer to the start of free agency. We'll see if we know a little bit more about where the Cowboys are headed there. For Chris Beam, I'm Nick Eatman. We'll see you next week on Cowboys Storyline.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!